Hi, everyone.
Hi.
Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having us.
We're looking forward to having a discussion in honor of International Women's Day on March 8th. Let's get started.
Awesome.
What does the theme Inspire Inclusion mean to you?
I'd say inspire inclusion means dissolving any labels so that, if you're having conversations with your colleagues, it's not looking at them as a man or a woman or black or white or brown. It's you are a unique individual with unique values and you bring your unique perspective to all conversations.
What does an empowered woman look like to you?
Having that feeling of being in control of things and being in control of what your boundaries look like, whether they're personal or professional boundaries, being able to influence people around you. Someone who feels that she has confidence in being bold and expressing her opinions and really standing for what she believes in. That's empowerment to me.
And confident to speak up. They may have a controversial opinion, but not afraid to speak it respectfully.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and integrity is key. Like, I've seen so much, I agree with everything you said, right? And when you talk about, having that confidence, I think if you're high integrity when you do it, not only does it help you feel you can be empowered, but it allows the people around you to see you that way as well.
And especially because that's one of our core GM behaviors, to win with integrity. Mm-hmm. We all need to have that. Why is it important to have more women in leadership roles?
I think it's important as a company like General Motors that we're representing societies and consumers at every level in the decision making and making sure that we're really driving innovation through this diversity of thought and being ready for any challenges that come our way with these diverse people that are making the decisions for our businesses.
Yes, that's exactly. 50% of our population is women. So if we're going to market and innovate and create new technologies for our population, then 50% of our leaders should be women as well.
I didn't realize how important it was to kind of see a female in a leadership role to aspire to show that, hey, that can be done. Representation matters. It didn't click with me until recently.
How can we attract more women to the male-dominated fields that we work in?
Part of it is the narrative, because as soon as you hear male-dominated, you're nervous, can I do it, can I not? It's education, helping them understand that, it doesn't matter if you're male or female, but you can be a part of this industry and contribute as well.
It's breaking down stereotypes, right? Girls are not good at math. What do women know about cars, right? We need to be supporting other girls to really see themselves in these positions and in these industries.
And it doesn't matter what industry you're in, right? If you're a good leader and you strive to grow and you can attain your strategy and help your team grow, then that's all you need. You can do any role in any industry.
If you stick to the stereotype, then there wouldn't be as many doors open. I think Oshawa Assembly had a great proof point of that when they hired, I think it was 50% production female workers. A lot went into it, but one of the aspects was taking the experience required piece off of the job application. And so it wasn't about, hey, you've done this role before, it's do you have the passion, the skills, the drive, the want to be a part of this? And hey, let's talk about it. That's what it means to me. There's an ability to open doors if we're supporting each other.
A lot of women I know, myself included, when they see job postings, especially for promotions, I am the person that's sitting there going, okay, well, do I have these 10 experiences, right? So I frequently find that I used to self-select myself out. And I've talked to other women who do that as well, right? They self-select themselves out because they say, oh, I don't have that experience. And one of the great things about our new HR processes, we're trying to say, what is your potential? And trying to convince people that sometimes you just need to jump in. And a lot of my male colleagues never even think of that. They're like, oh, it's a promotion. And they just post, right? And they're like, I'll figure it out. I'll learn it when I get there.
That's so funny when you're like, jump in. That's when you were talking. That's exactly what I was thinking. We just need to jump in. Just get in there and try it out.
Yeah.
But motivate each other to do that.
How can building relationships with other women help advance your career?
Each one of us at the table, we're likely going to go through very similar experiences at some point in our life. And just having that support network, that community, someone to talk to that's a friend, but also in the same industry, going through the same things as you, really helps, both professionally and personally.
And I would say sharing recognitions, I think, is important to kind of boost each other up. So if you're working with a female colleague and they're doing great stuff, send an email to their leader and say, this individual just knocked it out of the park today.
Because sometimes you just need that. And then you're like, who did something today that I could do that for, that I could give that confidence to?
I think it's about empowering each other, and I find that we have a great network here within the company, and being able to just share experiences and know that, hey, it's not just me going through that, but also learning from what other women did in those situations is invaluable.
I was fortunate when I started my career at GM that I had a controller who I would say pushed more than encouraged, but wanted me to be part of what was then the Women's Advisory Council, right, in its old form.
Yep.
And I'm new. I don't want people to think that I think I should be treated differently because I'm a woman, right? I was 22, what did I know? And those relationships that I built in my first 3 years at General Motors were so important. So when people have those opportunities to be either formally or informally part of those networks, it's always good for GM, but equally good for each other.
It's really good to make those connections, and you also understand the business better, and you can be a better employee at the same time.
Absolutely.
100%.
Yeah. Have you ever been the only woman in the room or at the table? And if so, how did you find your voice?
15 years ago, I sat in that room and I was the only woman and I was the person taking notes,
It's intimidating.
right? That was my job.
Yeah,
Right?
rooms where you go in and you don't see someone that kind of represents your voice or your perspective, it can be a little daunting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if I really found my voice as much as I could have or should have. For me, it was hard. I did a lot of trying to compartmentalize and fit in. I learned a lot about football, which I love the sport, but I learned to try and be part of the football pool and not talk about my kids as much, or not talk about that I was, pulled in a few other directions when I got home. So something that I think I'm trying to intentionally not do anymore, and try and say, hey, I gotta take the kids to the dentist. I'm out of here, because I want people to know that there's a balance. But yeah, I don't know if I did a good job of it looking back. It's hard to be the only person.
How would you change it if you were to go back and redo it?
I don't know, found a better support system, found better mentors. It was a smaller facility, so not that many opportunities way back then, but I think it's come a long way.
And having someone recognize that there are people in the room that are being quiet, right? And encouraging them and giving them openings to share their thoughts. Those type of managers, male and female, were really important to helping me find my voice.
I think for me, it was, I'm not going to go in as the only female in the room. It's like, you are a person, I'm equal. And I had to mentally prepare myself and get that inner confidence before going into the room. And it's not easy, but that's how I've worked through it.
According to a new poll, more than half of women have experienced imposter syndrome at some point in their careers. I know I've been there. Maybe any of you have also been there.
Totally. A lot.
When I was a child, I was lucky because I was surrounded by some role models within my family. My mom is an engineer herself, and I have a few aunts as well who went through engineering. So to me, that on its own was something that really just helped me see myself in a position like this in the future. But as a woman who went through engineering program, I was one of few, if not sometimes the only girl in a class, right? And then you look around and you think, like, am I in the right place? Do I even belong here? And then you move on, you start a job, you join committees, and it's the same situation. And again, you doubt yourself. You're like, oh, should I be here? Going through a PhD, again, in software engineering, not something that many women go through. And there were a lot of times where I was like, why am I even doing this, right? This is tough, this is too much. I started, my family. I had my 2 kids during my PhD And that was a little bit difficult for me to balance. But again, eyes on the prize. I know that I'm going to be able to make a change, and that was really the most empowering thing for me, to keep focusing on that. Reminding yourself of the training, the knowledge that you bring, being confident about what you have to say, having a clear mission statement and passion that drives you, but also surrounding yourself with people who can really understand those things that you're going through and just get you through them.
And remember why you're there. I think it's natural to kind of be uneasy about new circumstances, going into a new job, or just working with different coworkers. But everybody, and that's the beauty of kind of diversity and inclusion, is everybody brings a different perspective. And so just because you might not have the same experience, perspective, or education as someone else that you're working with, that's great. It means you're actually going to have a good kind of diversity of conversation. Exactly. So.
Yeah.
I feel like I've always felt that at different points. Once they gave it a name and people talked about it openly, and you kind of realize that everybody feels that way.
Yes.
It almost took, it was like taking back the power and going, oh, well, we all feel like that sometime, but before it had a name, I don't know if we talked about it as openly as we did. When I have those moments, and I did, several times a day, but even like when I applied for a director role, right? You kind of have those, should I even do that? And you have to, jump in, right? It's hard, but if everyone else feels it, that's when you need to find your people.
And be okay being uncomfortable,
Be okay.
right?
What advice would you offer another woman who's fearful to take the next step in her career?
Jump in.
Just do it. I think it's the point about it's okay to be uncomfortable, like fear is very natural. It's not you only going through that. I think just realizing and being intentional about, okay, like this is why I'm scared about it, and then maybe addressing those points, like these things that you think are gaps in your understanding. You can develop yourself further to become more confident. And I think, again, just having people around you that you feel comfortable sharing that fear with makes it so much easier.
I would say visualize yourself, 10, 20 years from now. How do you feel, and what does your life look like if you don't take this step, right? Because if you think you're going to regret it, then come back to today and just do it. Because if you do it, at least you tried and you're moving forward. And then there's no regrets.
I like that. You're kind of talking yourself into it, because I think for the most part, maybe we're always talking ourselves out of it, right? Back to the whole job description, resume, like, oh, I don't fit 2 out of these 10, I can't do it. But, what are you going to gain from it? What are you going to learn from it? It helps challenge us, so.
What's important is you need to look forward, you need to jump, but sometimes you need to take the time to reflect on the successes that you've had. Think about what you've done, and you're like, oh, I can't. And then you go, wait a second.
Right.
Here are the little things that I've done every day and how those have given me the foundation I need. And we're not always so good at tooting our own horn, but it's
It
important.
feels uncomfortable sometimes.
It does, but even doing it for yourself. I think everybody should update their resume every year or two for no other reason, even if you're not looking, right? Just to reflect on all of the things and all of the process and development that you've had. Because it's really this self-affirming exercise.
So there's someone on my team, and every week I ask her, what's your brag for the week? Because it's something she said. She's like, it's hard for me to brag about myself. I go, okay, I'm going to hold you accountable. What's your brag for the week? And now she looks forward to it. So I fully agree with you.
great.
It's not easy, but it can be learned.
Do you think we still have a ways to go to achieve true gender equity? Why or why not?
We've come a long way, and I'm proud to be part of a company that is so focused on it. I'd say to you, the litmus test is when we no longer have to talk about it. That's when we've reached it.
So how do you think we can get there?
I think we need to be intentional about, as leaders, having that empathy to really get to know your teams and understand what are those challenges that are preventing women from succeeding and developing in their careers, and assessing, are we evolving to ensure that those challenges are being addressed? And then bringing that forward to higher level discussions around policies and changes in the system.
Allyship is something that I don't think we talked about, 10 years ago plus. Like having males intentionally be more active in, developing of female careers. That's something that I think is new and could be encouraged even more. For me, it sparks so much emotion to know that it is possible to be included, inclusive, and we all are on the journey together. So.
And it is possible.
Yeah, like there's hope, inspire, like it's very aspirational. So it feels like there's lots to do, but we're well on our way. So.
And much different than when many of us started.
Very much.
And that on its own is inspiring,
Yeah.
right, to see that change. But there's definitely opportunity for more, and it's really about creating those environments that you feel people are, safe, they're included, and they're just being their best selves every day.